working in policy, I would say traditionally there's been much more focus on what we would say is economic growth. The short-term models, the more monetary, the more kind of metrics, the looking at just, seasonal performance. And we in our office, we're focused on economic development, which is trying to encourage this more long-term, this more integrated, collaborative focus on economic development that's treating the economy in a long-term way, that's trying to bring together stakeholders that can mutually beneficial. So, of course, we want to encourage free market. We want to encourage companies to be innovative, to come up with new things that might solve societal issues, but they might make a nice profit as well, which incidentally anyway will likely be reinvested in some kind of new initiative that will again improve some kind of societal thing. I think probably just going back to that word we were kind of mentioning, the balance thing. I think the balance is just unfortunately been out of kilter. Like, it's been too much focused on the short-term gains without that long-term kind of vision. I think now though it's exciting as far as I'm concerned. We can't ignore the warning signs that are there in all kinds of sectors and all kinds of dichotomies that, something needs to change drastically. If we want any kind of economy at all, we need to be much more sustainable. We need to have a much more holistic and collaborative approach to it.
So taking up on Sophie's point there about collaboration, it can be done, right? You guys are in that space. You are essentially, you're going to be Europe's largest English-speaking city at some point. Brexit came into this conversation, and you're
absolutely.
Yeah, you're able to say that's.
I mean, collaboration, of course it can be done. I think we forget maybe that to enable a lot of those economic growth models and business models that would operate in that short-term way, there's a lot of collaboration going on in that same model also. So maybe it's a case of trying to collaborate in more positive, more sustainable, more integrative, wider ways. Which, let's be honest, it's more difficult sometimes to try and bring more people together to get their views. However, when we do take that extra time and effort to do that, the results will, much more likely be better for many more stakeholders rather than just a select few shareholders.
Okay, well, I really appreciate it. We're going to come back to shareholder value in a moment. CJ, I want to ask, what was wrong before?
A lot of things were wrong before, and I can't help but picking up on these insights given so far. I'm sitting here thinking about why we're doing things. Really, what is the purpose? And if you look at capitalism, and I know I'm definitely not the first person to point this out, but what is the purpose anyway with making money? Why are we doing it? And what are the costs, for making this money? So of course, throwing in the idea of you could call this a number of things, but conscious capitalism or purpose-driven entities. And I definitely am one of those people who believe that the time is really through now to, what do you call it in English, to put things beneath the rug. You got to be transparent, and you have to, I think, many people think that you have to have some kind of agenda and some kind of purpose with what you're doing, because for obvious reasons, for consumer demand, for younger generations demanding a whole different sort of view on capitalism. So maybe I'm not answering your question here, but lots of things were wrong before, obviously, that got us into this situation in many aspects, environmentally, socially, equality, many aspects. And of course, we're going to see enterprises and entrepreneurs wanting to make money. But I think that the huge pressure on what's the purpose with what you're doing is going to glow so much stronger. From now on. It's already started to happening, obviously, but I think the purpose aspect of things is already there, and we we probably see that grow in sort of intensity and magnitude over the coming decades as the requests of rapid change grow. So it's just a matter of how far we will make it with that sort of hypothesis or paradigm.
So going into the detail of it, it's kind of like people are identifying these issues and they're tackling them as opposed to just lining the pockets with your profit. They're there out solving issues. That's really interesting. And Nicole wanted to come in there. Nicole, are you going to speak up to?
I think it's really about pace, that we understand that the economic system will fail and collapse due to climate crisis and overconsumption of resources. So you all know about the World Overshoot Day. And therefore, I think it's not only about hope and trust and positive outcomes. I think, hello?
Can you hear? World Overshoot Day is the day that we use up all of our resources before the end of the year. Isn't that right?
Yes, exactly.
We use resources. Oh, sorry,
yes.
Go on ahead, Nicole.
So, and therefore, we cannot just do as there wouldn't be these kind of planetary boundaries. So it's not only about purpose for me, it's really about value creation and sharing values. And if we want to stay on this planet and not like some young generations already consider that they can leave the planet. So I think it's really about being truthful with all the data and facts and setting new standards for leadership as well, because there is no master that will tell us how we should behave and how economy should be done. So that's why my colleagues said it already, interdisciplinary collaboration is really, really necessary because it's a systemic change that is needed. And we need to understand all these different perspectives that is the foundation, let's say, of our societies. Yeah, this is what I wanted to say.
I appreciate that. So I think there's the overarching theme there is that idea of, we're kind of going to mess it up. If we don't change our course, things are going to get worse. Climate, biodiversity, obviously there's other things like poverty, housing, there's other issues that are going to be there. But Caitlin, now that we have like this opportunity, I suppose it is an opportunity. People have been able to reset and communities have been able to meet over the lockdown and the pandemic. What can we do about it? Like, what are the things that you think are going to be transformative, and what specifically do you think you guys are able to do to affect that change?
I think in general, and kind of from what we've seen, there's been, because we've been forced to, the shakeup of the norm. So what we thought was like, this is how something has to work and this is the shape it has to be. In the last 6 months, we've pretty much proven that in many ways, for many things, that's not the case anymore. And so I think keeping that mindset moving further and making sure that we keep that idea of like, okay, but what could we do with this? How can we turn this situation into something where we can change what we think of as a set construct? Then we need to keep that mindset going forward. And I think with everybody here kind of demonstrating that and making spaces for people to do that. So like Sophie and I, that's, the kind of what we build out. And for everybody else to just continue that idea of not getting set into what we're doing and keep pushing the boundaries of like, okay, how can we change this? And now that we have this sort of much easier global network for everyone, because we've gotten used to being on Zoom calls and not in person meetings and all of this, like we have this great opportunity to say, okay, let's partner with somebody we would never have thought to partner with before to solve a problem that maybe we didn't even know existed or we didn't realize was so important. And that we have this now. Yeah.
And so on that, it's like, where is our savior coming from? Like, if we always did what we did to get up to this point and we haven't changed, all right, we have a global pandemic once in 100 years. What is the things that are going to change that are going to get us out of this? Like, surely everybody's just going to want to go back to normal, right? And, normal works for a lot of people. And that's part of the problem, right?
And I would like to point out a couple of things here. I think maybe first from a more philosophical standpoint, it's I think that this pandemic has shown us, some of the great sides of humanity. We still have the ability to be compassionate, to care for each other.